Alright everybody, Melanie here and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about your controlling friend, your controlling partner, why they are being so controlling and what you can do about it. But before I get into it, I just want to say that I am working, and although I haven't posted videos this summer, I am back at work. So if you're looking for online counselling and coaching sessions regarding the topics that I'm talking about on my YouTube channel, don't be shy, do get in contact with me. My email address is in the video description and in the About section. In the About section, you'll also see links to the places which I trained in both psychosynthesis counselling and later in life and wellness coaching as well. If in the past you have emailed me asking about my services, know that in the last few months I have updated the type of services that I offer as well as the pricing. So if you want to know more, do get in touch with me. Alright, so let's crack on with the video. So your controlling partner, controlling friend. Sometimes control seems very obvious and overt when someone is literally being very bossy. However, in people who are quite vulnerable, especially if they're very cute and you have this urge to want to protect them, to look after them, then it doesn't seem that obvious when they are being very controlling. So the reasons why people can be controlling. Well, let's just start with, as you're watching this channel, if you're watching these videos, you dated someone who has been traumatized. BPD is a trauma response. CPTSD is a trauma response. These are just a few of the reasons why your partner might be quite dysfunctional. And when people have been abused, it is disempowering. Now, focusing on BPD, and often this is abuse that has happened in childhood. And in particular, with physical abuse, with sexual abuse, with emotional abuse, it robs you of your personal power. It's disempowering. And when you're a child, you're vulnerable and you don't know how to protect yourself. As an adult, however, you are able to protect yourself, and yet there is still this part of you, the younger part of you, that still remembers the wounds, that still remembers the pain of abuse and wants to feel better. Now, a way to feel better when you've been robbed of your personal power is to dominate another, is to control another. I would say this is an immature way of dealing with things, because these are the kind of tactics that young people, like children and teenagers, employ. Tactics of emotional manipulation, for example, as a way to get control over the person and the situation. For example, I have a 7-year-old nephew. If he doesn't get what he wants, he could throw a temper tantrum, or he could start crying until he gets his way, complain to another person. Auntie Mel's not letting me get my way, she's being mean, blah, blah, blah. Or give me the silent treatment, and we'll do what it takes so that he gets his way. Now, that's to be expected of a young child. The issue is when an adult is doing this as well. With cluster B personality disorders, there is a form of arrested development, so to speak, where even though this person is an adult, in many ways this person is frozen as a state of someone in their childhood, someone in their teens. It's like they go back to a place which is young and immature within themselves. So they will use tactics such as silent treatment, guilt tripping to get their way. And it's harder to see this when it's an adult, especially when it's someone you're attracted to. And if this is someone who is quite vulnerable, as is often the case with people with BPD, they often do exhibit a sense of vulnerable narcissism where they make everything about them. And it can be very hard to see. And if you're the kind of person that is quite easygoing, likes to go with the flow, and you find yourself dating someone who has BPD, maybe at the time you didn't realize, but now with hindsight, you're looking back and you're watching these videos trying to figure it out. When someone has been quite deeply traumatized, they develop narcissistic traits, and for some people it goes way more than traits, and they don't even see it themselves. In this context of understanding your controlling partner, this is a trauma response to want to control someone else as a way to feel better. So a common issue that a lot of my clients have is this. These are the kind of people who are easygoing, who are tolerant, empathic, compassionate and understanding, and they start dating someone with whom they're very attracted to, and they have a sense of wanting to look after and to protect their vulnerable partner. And they find that over time it just becomes easier to go with the flow, and they end up just doing things that their partner wants to do. And at some point there comes a point when they say no, and eventually when they say no, they are met with anger, or they are met with their partner sulking or giving them a hard time for saying no. In a sense, they are punishing their partner for challenging him, for being assertive, for saying no. And it's a form of control for the partner to learn to be quiet, to be compliant, and to return back to the status quo of how it was. The thing about BPD is that people who have BPD are very codependent people. They don't know how to control the intensity of their feelings. They don't know how to give themselves a pat on the back when they've done something good. They don't know how to soothe themselves when perhaps I've had an argument with someone. They are always reliant on people, whether it's for attention, for people to give them sympathy, for someone to listen as they are bashing about someone, if they're venting, whatever it is. They rely on other people to witness them and to be the magic mirror on the wall. Another way that you or your partner or your friend could be quite controlling is being overly nice after a fight. One example of this is with my BPD ex, and after a fight, when he was being irrational, the next day he would be like super nice and would give me things and be generous. And after a while, I saw the cycles in that he was doing this after a fight. And I came to realize that I think a lot of this was just him wanting to be seen as good, that he couldn't handle the thought of being seen as bad, so that he would be overly nice, so that I would forget the times when he wasn't being nice. Does that not seem a bit controlling to you? It doesn't seem authentic then. There's a difference between a spontaneous, authentic gesture of love and appreciation for someone else versus being fake, so that you come across as being nice, so that you can deceive people as well as yourself. These are codependent people who have been quite deeply traumatized and have BPD. They don't know how to self-regulate, so they are reliant on other people to help them do this. And part of that is their need for safety, and for them, for people who are unconscious about what's going on, I should say, because there are people who have gained self-awareness with BPD and are working on themselves. But for the people who don't really realize that perhaps they have BPD, or for those who are quite far gone in the spectrum, where they don't really have much willpower, they don't really have a huge amount of self-awareness, their way to self-regulate is to control the other person. Their way, how codependency manifests with them, is by controlling the other person. And I have to say, it's not just your BPD partner, all right? It's not just your BPD friend. It's you as well. When I say you, I mean, please look at yourself when you are pointing the finger at your partner or your friend, because other behaviors may not seem like it's being controlling, but actually they are. For example, being too helpful, being too nice, being too much of a people pleaser, being too much of a rescuer. And when you go unconscious in these states and you are acting out of the past rather than being fully present to what's actually happening. To be too helpful, for example, can be a controlling way to say to your friend or your partner, please keep me in your life because I'm a helpful person. And at what point is this actually authentic? How much of this perhaps is motivated out of a fear of not being in relationship, a fear of being alone? Perhaps in the past, you were only seen when you were being helpful. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of us can relate to this. A lot of my clients, a lot of people watching my videos can relate to this. And the trick here is to have self-awareness about these traits within you. And it's only through awareness and acceptance of this can you then start to work on yourself. And self-improvement in this matter means having a choice, remembering that you have a choice in everything. You have free will. You can choose how you wish to respond. You can choose which emotions to dwell in and which thoughts to think. Am I being controlling myself? Am I actually codependent myself? If so, what is it that I need to work on within myself? Maybe it's programs from the past. You've been conditioned to look after people and rescue people because you had to do that with your family. Maybe that's just how you were seen. But anyhow, people with cluster B personality disorders, especially when they're quite far gone, they can be very, very controlling. And one way to really see what you're dealing with here is by being more assertive. So the solution, if you are dating someone, if you are friends with someone who is quite controlling and you're not happy with it anymore, it's stressing you out. For example, if you've got a friend who just keeps cancelling on you and only wants to call and speak to you on their terms, when it suits them, and not for you, it's not reciprocated. You're just fed up with it, maybe you've got a friend who just likes to complain and whinge about everything all the time, but doesn't have the space for you when you want to vent and whinge. And especially for partners, if you are fed up of your partner being controlling, how it looks as well is in an argument, for example. If you're having an argument and you're fed up about something and you just want to discuss it and your partner can't handle it, so become overly dramatic in their response as a way to deflect so that you can drop it. It's a form of control. If they're not happy with what you're saying, and then will get angry and defensive and take it out on you. We'll give you the silent treatment. We'll go to other people to complain and say, hey, this person thinks this, and this about you as well. It can be very frustrating trying to have an adult relationship with someone who resorts to acting like a child when being confronted. One way of looking at this problem is to give yourself a shift in perspective. Perhaps this is a lesson for you to be more assertive if you find it hard to assert your needs. If you tend to be quite a passive, easygoing person who goes with the flow, maybe this is an invitation for you to A, ascertain what your needs are, and B, to speak them. And you speaking them will tell you all that you need to know with your partner and whether they can change, whether this relationship will actually improve. If you struggle with asserting your needs and speaking your voice, perhaps then this is an opportunity for you to learn to do so. Maybe this is a case of dipping your toe in and getting acclimatized to being in cold water. So practice saying no in the smallest ways possible. Because remember, when you say no to others, you're saying yes to yourself. And this is if you find it very easy to say yes and you struggle with saying no. Perhaps this is a lesson for you to test yourself by gently pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and learning how to say no. Especially if you're the type that finds it so easy to say yes because it's a habit for you. You've been conditioned to be this way. Perhaps this is the trauma response of you having an abusive or controlling parent where you were punished for saying no. So now you find yourself in a relationship, maybe, with someone who reminds you of that particular parent, maybe. And now you have a choice. Do I want to keep repeating the past, or do I want to do something different? And the only way is to challenge yourself and put yourself out of your comfort zone, for all of us. And it takes practice, you know? The thought of it is really overwhelming. So try things, if you can relate to this, try the small things in your day-to-day life in which you can say no. So practice saying no, perhaps, with friends, with family, so that you can find it easier to say no to your partner. Being assertive with your dysfunctional partner will tell you everything you need to know. If listening to this, you feel anxiety about speaking to your partner because you know that there will be a shitstorm awaiting if you speak your mind. You know that you will be cut down, you'll be given the silent treatment, whatever it is, you anticipate some sort of big blowout and you're thinking, it's not worth it. Is that not a form of control that's been implemented onto you? Well, you've chosen it as well because you chose to stay in this relationship. When you can't express yourself authentically out of fear of setting off your dysfunctional partner, that's when you know that you're in a controlling relationship. So then my next question is, can you accept your partner how she or how he is right now? Because if the thought of just speaking your needs to your partner scares you or gives you anxiety, perhaps then this is because you have spoken your mind in the past and it's giving you a certain reaction, and so you're anticipating it and your instincts are telling you, I anticipate a big blowout, I'm not going to feel good. This is how people end up losing their voices in relationship. it's not going to change. If in the past you tried to speak your mind and nothing happened, well, the solution is either to keep doing it, to keep being quiet, and then accepting that nothing's going to change, except you might deteriorate more and more and more. Or you can speak your mind and you'll likely aggravate your partner, and it won't be easy, but at least you spoke in your mind. Well, the other option is to leave, whether you decide to speak your mind or not, because when people don't want to change, when you are assertive, when you assert your boundaries and you are met with indignance, when you have an indignant partner with whom, when you say no, become very angry because they don't like being told no. When you have a friend or a partner that does not like being told what to do, are they going to change? Because it's like that ego takes over, that pride takes over. You try and assert your needs, you try to be the adult, you try to be responsible, you challenge the narrative of your partner, and it's not them that listens to it, but instead their pride. And they feel slighted. And then their reaction is one of someone who isn't truly listening, who isn't truly empathizing, and who isn't fully present, but instead someone who is quite traumatized and is not really seeing you. Do people like this change? They can, but, and that's a big but, there needs to be a willingness from them to want to change, and there needs to be regular habits in place, whether that's seeing a counsellor or whatever self-improvement they are actually doing. They can change, and this is very incremental. Otherwise, they're not going to change, because people don't really change. People can become adaptive, but is this the same as actual genuine personal growth, actual genuine maturity? Can you accept your partner as they are now? Perhaps it's worth seeing what lessons you can learn from this. What are the challenges for myself? Maybe this is for me to be more assertive. Maybe the opportunity now is to look at myself, to see if there are aspects of me that can be controlling, like my partner, like my friend. And how do I work with this? How do I change this so that it's working for me and for other people, not working against me and not harming relationships? Along with the question, can you accept your partner or your friend for as they are right now, is do you want to keep enabling them as well? Because if it's just easier to go with the flow, and if you speak your mind, you are met with anger, bossiness, and you've learnt to just be submissive, is this not a form of enabling? You're enabling your partner to keep being the way they want to be. And if you're happy with this, then great, keep being this way. But then why are you watching this video if you are happy with this? Perhaps there is a part of you that is suffering. What is the solution for you? What does your anger tell you? Another thing with a lot of my clients who are generally quite easygoing people is that a lot of anger tends to be stuffed down in order to keep the status quo, to keep the peace, to not start a fight. But that's temperamental. It's only a matter of time until the anger comes out. And often it comes out at an opportunity which just annoyingly proves the point of your dysfunctional partner who likes to accuse you of being the angry one. So it just makes things worse. So how do you deal with that? How do you handle the eruptions of anger when you act out of character, which just makes it harder when that's hung up over your head? You know, you are like this, you have been like this, you did this to me, without them realizing that actually you were very much provoked. To end this video, I want to talk about love and how many of us who have been in these relationships with people with BPD, who've been in dysfunctional relationships, the intensity of the initial first few months, it really feels like such an amazing, powerful love. And if you're really struggling with this, how can my partner who seemingly loved me can treat me this way? How can we have had such a loving start and then it's come to this? What happened? Was it true love? Surely true love, at least how I see it, is respecting the other person's free will. To love someone is to respect that they have autonomy. They are an individual with their own choices. To love them is to love their free will. And yet often in dysfunctional codependent relationships, there is control. There is control. I will love you if you are being this way. I will love you if you do this for me. If you stay in relationships in which your needs aren't met, but you stay for whatever reason out of fear, guilt, obligation, the fog, which I often talk about in my videos, do you not think that resentment might build up in you just a little bit? What do you do with this? What is that resentment telling you? All of our feelings are there to guide us, to inform us. Resentment and anger are useful emotions. The problem is if we fester in it. So if you're having problems with this, if you are stuck in a whirlpool of overthinking about things, festering, you're stuck in anger, you're suffering about being in this kind of controlling relationship, and perhaps you need some further help, know that I can help with this. I offer online counselling and coaching services. So get in touch with me, drop me an email, and we'll take it from there. And for my viewers, thank you so much for subscribing and supporting the channel. I will be back to posting regular videos. I just took some time off over the summer. And if you've got any video suggestions, do email me with your suggestions. I'd love to hear them. I'll leave it here for now, and have a lovely day. Bye for now.